There we go. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian Martin with your daily Manchester United news show. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey Brian, I thought you were Amorim out. What's up with the headline? What's up with the thumbnail? Well, I haven't changed. I'm still an Amorim out. But if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is, as we say here in America, standing on business when it comes to his comments about Ruben Amorim, then he had better back Ruben Amorim in all these upcoming transfer windows. We're going to get into that here in a moment, but if you don't mind, please do like and subscribe if you are new. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. So, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's quotes that I'm getting from Manchester Evening News. Thank you, Manchester Evening News, for this. The quotes are, "The press, sometimes I don't understand. They want overnight success. They think it's a light switch. You know, you flick a switch and it's all going to be roses tomorrow. You can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one every week. He has not had the best of seasons." This is about Ruben Amorim. "He has not had the best of seasons. Ruben needs to demonstrate he is a great coach over 3 years. That's where I would be." Now, the Manchester Evening News, they brought up something that I said yesterday in my show. I've said that I've seen managers before, and you've seen it too, get this sort of public backing only to be sacked a couple of months later, right? We saw it with Ten Hag. I feel like we saw it with Mourinho. I feel like we saw it with, with Ole. I feel like we saw it with most of the managers who've been in charge since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. So on one hand, yeah, I am putting quite a bit of stock into what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is saying, but I'm not, blind to the fact that it has been said in the past about previous managers, prior to Ineos. Let's just make that clear, and it didn't go that way, right? So, which way do you feel about that? We'll see. Let's discuss. Let me know in the comments. Um, but what I'm going to say and what I said to start the show is, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is, like I said, standing on business with his comments about Ruben Amorim, then that means that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has to absolutely 110% back Ruben Amorim in the upcoming transfer windows, and that includes this January. So that to me means that, again, if this is true, if what he's saying is the gospel, then that means that we're going to see a signing in January. Um, I mean, because at this point, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has basically put his name onto Ruben Amorim and is backing him publicly, fully. So again, that to me means a guaranteed January signing, because as you've seen thus far with the results, we are underperforming. We are crying out for a midfielder. We need a midfielder that can play Amorim ball. So with that said, the usual names are there. Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace, 21 years old. He's played 6 matches so far. No goals or assists, but that's not really his role. Apparently, he has a gentleman's agreement to leave Palace. So he's allegedly valued at £100 million. That seems to be the arbitrary amount that clubs like to throw on their players when they're, suddenly having their breakout season or they're getting a lot of media press. They like to just say, oh, £100 million. But apparently there's a gentleman's agreement that Wharton has with Palace to maybe let him go for around £65 million. Angelo Stiller, I feel like the news around him has quieted down a bit. He's 24. He's at Stuttgart. His release clause is around £30 million. He's played 6 matches and he has had 1 assist so far this season at Stuttgart. Elliot Anderson at Nottingham Forest, he's 22. He's played 7 matches, 1 assist. I think he's about £45 million. And honestly, I think he'd be looking to get away from Forest if they plan on persisting with Ange Postecoglou. Conor Gallagher, Atletico Madrid. He's 25 years old. He's the guy I've been saying I think comes in January. I've been saying that since before Ruben got this recent public backing from Sir Jim. I've been saying that since the summer. Honestly, I think Conor Gallagher comes in January. I'm sticking by that. He's played 8 matches. He scored 1 goal at Atletico. He's about £60 million. And then, of course, there's the biggest name of the summer, Carlos Baleba at Brighton. He's 21 years old. He's apparently asked Brighton to let him go in January. He's played 7 matches. Apparently, he's been hooked. in a lot of those matches. Now, I keep saying this, I think his head was turned, and that's why he's been playing poorly. Does it scream professionalism? No, but again, he's 21 years old, right? Been given a lot pretty soon, so probably a little on the immature side, if I'm being honest. And not doing the greatest at Brighton, but they're still slapping that $100 million price tag on him, so we will see. There's also Ruben Neves, who's been talked about. He's 28 years old. He's a former Wolves player, so he is Premier League proven, still in his prime. I don't know much about how the Saudi Pro League sells players. We know how they buy players. They'll splash the cash, but I don't know how they sell players, so I don't know if they're going to try and, make a bargain or if they're going to try and hold a high value over his head. Either way, for Ruben Neves, I'd probably say like a loan deal. I don't know if I'd buy him. And of course, the newest name in the hat, Job Bellingham at Dortmund. He's 20, so he is unsettled over his lack of playing time. He's played in all 6 matches for Dortmund, but he hasn't played the full matches. Now, the point I want to make on Job Bellingham is people are already saying, well, he's not getting in the Dortmund team, so we don't want him. So let me flip the script on you for a second and say, okay, what if it was Kobe Mainu? What if we were Napoli fans, right? Since Kobe Mainu was reportedly, being sought by Napoli. What if we're Napoli fans or you heard a Napoli fan saying, well, we don't want Kobe Mainu. He's not getting in the Manchester United team. You'd immediately say, are you nuts? Kobe Mainu is a talent, right? He's a major talent. Any team should want him. So I think the same with Joe Bellingham. I really think that, yes, he's not getting, much playing time with Dortmund, but I think there's talent there for sure. And just because he's not playing there doesn't mean he couldn't come to us and realize his talent with us. Again, it's always a gamble with any player. I mean, it's a gamble even with established players. We've seen established players leave their club to go to another club and not do so well. I mean, Fernando Torres, right? Maybe I'm dating myself a bit, but Liverpool to Chelsea, you see how that turned out. So, I wouldn't close the door on Job Bellingham. Now, again, I don't know that he has the mobility that we're looking for to play Amorim ball. We'll have to wait and see. But not sure about that. But anyway, if you were just joining again, as the thumbnail says, Sir Jim Ratcliffe has to back Ruben Amorim if he is 100% serious on the quotes that he's made to the media about backing Amorim for the next couple of years. I mean, apparently he said, Ruben has to prove himself over 3 years. We're about a year into it. I would say, well, a month from now is a year into it. So over the next, 2 years and 1 month, I would say Ruben Amorim, according to Sir Jim Ratcliffe's statements, that's the amount of time he has to prove himself. So, again, like I said, Sir Jim has to back him in every transfer window coming up if he's serious, and that includes this January. So that to me means that there is a January signing incoming. Now, moving on from that. So apparently there are rumors of a Saudi sell or takeover or partial ownership. Now, what has sparked this is a tweet from a man named Turki Al Sheikh. That is what has caused the stir. Now, who is Mr. Al Sheikh? So he is a 44-year-old Saudi Arabian man, a government official. So he's got political influence. Apparently he's a chairman of the General Entertainment Authority. Sounds like a pretty cushy job if you ask me. Where do I apply for that? He's a minister in the royal court, and he created what's known as Riyadh Season. That is a 6-month series of entertainment events throughout the capital region in Saudi Arabia. So apparently this guy has got quite the resume. So, take that all you posers on LinkedIn. Anyway, apparently this guy has invested millions in boxing, and he is thought to be behind the idea of United playing in Saudi Arabia over the winter time. Just a side note on that. So apparently Amorim is in favor of the team playing in Saudi Arabia over the winter. Amorim said, we have to do it. We have our fans, the budget. We have to compensate for a lot of things. We have to do it, so we will do it. We want to be with our fans around the world, so we will put it all together to do that. If we have to do it, we have to manage and to find the space to do it. So my take on that very quickly, I'm not fussed about it. Some people were up in arms about the idea of us playing in Saudi Arabia, in December or January or whatever. I'm not fussed about it. I mean, people were like, oh, the players could get hurt. They could get hurt walking to their car. They could get hurt going out to dinner. They could get hurt in training. If we were playing in the Champions League and every other tournament, they could get hurt at any time, right? So I'm not going to scream about a friendly in Saudi Arabia in December or January, whenever they're planning it, for us to go and, meet some fans and grab some cash, right? And keep the players fit and sharp. I'm not complaining about that at all. So that's my take on it. But anyway, back to Mr. Al Sheikh here, or Al Sheikh. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. So his tweet said, the best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. Now, again, given what I've read about this Turkey Al Sheikh, I'm not sure if this is just drumming up a bit of noise around the proposed friendly that Manchester United is to play. Again, it's rumored that he is behind that friendly. It would make sense given that he is behind the Riyadh season and behind, a lot of big boxing matches that have taken place in Saudi Arabia. So this might be a bit of promoter speak going on, if I'm being honest. You know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe didn't make any mention to it in his statements, in his interview. We haven't heard it come from anywhere else. It's kind of come out of left field. So right now I'm taking it with a little, pinch of salt here, right? It might just be a bit of promoter speak, trying to drum up business for a potential Manchester United friendly in Saudi Arabia, or it could be some major breaking news that, we're sounding out someone else to buy part of the Glazers ownership, and inject more cash into Manchester United. Now, I'd be curious how that works out, because if Sir Jim is in charge of the footballing side of things and the Glazers are in charge of everything else, I don't know where this third person would fit in unless, the Glazers are, again, willing to part ways with the controls of another part of the business. Would be interesting, but honestly, again, I think it's just a bit of promoter talk from Mr. Al Sheikh there, again, trying to drum up business, drum up noise around the potential friendly that he's purportedly behind for Manchester United in Saudi Arabia. But as always, as I say, watch this space on that. Now, new director of football operations, Amish Manik. His focus is going to be on Carrington. So Amish will manage travel, logistics, player support, staff coordination, and operational aspects for both the men's and women's teams. With the state-of-the-art facilities at his disposal, he will ensure players have the best environment for training, recovery, and performance. That is from the India Times. It's from the India Times because Mr. Manik, or Amish, he is a Tanzanian-born man born to Indian parents. So, of course, he's featured in the Indian Times. Interesting background, to be honest. So anyway, Mr. Amish Manik, he is currently the chief operating officer at Brentford, but coming to Manchester United, he will report to Jason Wilcox. He previously worked in banking, then moved to Arsenal to focus on academy development before moving to first team operations. Now, just a side tangent here. How do you parlay that? How do you parlay being a banker or working in banking to working in football on a, academy development role? I could see operations, I could see the finances, I could see, the numbers and things like that. But how do you go from something completely unrelated, to working in academy development? I mean, please tell me. I would love that. I worked in banking before, right, at a very big bank. So I'd love to know how this guy was able to parlay that into a role, into working with academy development. Someone give me a call and let me know, because I could do the same thing. That would be great. Let me know. I would love to work in football. But anyway, that is Amish Manik's background. Again, he is the new director of football operations, reporting to Jason Wilcox. Now, if you're just joining, please do subscribe. Please do like. Just a quick recap if you were joining now. As I said, Sir Jim Ratcliffe had better back Ruben Amorim if he is putting his name to him and saying that he needs or should be allowed 3 years total to prove that he's a good manager. And again, we are almost a year into that 3 years, so we're looking at another month and 2 years. And so if Sir Jim Ratcliffe is serious about what he's saying, then that to me means that there will be a January summer signing, probably a midfielder, because it is glaringly obvious that we need a midfielder. And one thing that I did say, that I didn't say earlier in this show, but I said it in the post-match against Sunderland, it was almost more glaring that we needed a midfielder in that win than it has been in any of our losses. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I just saw we probably could have had 2 or 3 more goals had we had a good midfield partnership. And you still saw where our midfield got exposed a little bit, even though we were still mostly controlling and managing the game against Sunderland. So it was almost more glaring in the victory than it has been in any of our defeats. Again, I think we'll see a January summer signing. My money is on Conor Gallagher. I don't know who your money is on, but let me know in the comments. Moving on from everything I just reported on to the women's front. So the women in their first ever UEFA Women's Champions League match, they defeated Vålerenga in a dominant performance. They won 1-0. Should have been more goals. We hit the woodwork, I think, once or twice and fired it over the bar a couple times. So we got to work on our finishing on the women's front. But that was our first ever Women's Champions League match, official match. And the penalty that was scored by Maya Letitia. So that was our first ever Women's Champions League goal. So if you haven't been watching, the women have been cooking this season, and not in the kitchen, as some of you assholes would say about women in football. Sorry to be so blunt. But yes, so they have been tearing it up. And I've been covering the matches. It's been a joy to watch. I'm going to try and cover the match against Everton this weekend. I might have to do some personal errands, so we'll see. But stay tuned, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know if I do cover that match. Now, continuing on the women's front, so Jess Park is continuing to bed into the team. You can still see some phases of play where she, isn't quite on the same page as her teammates. But I mean, that relationship between Jess Park, Mallard, and Turlin and Toon is just, you see it each match just getting better and sharper, and we're already smashing it. So again, my crazy claim is that we could be staring down the title, the WSO title this season. We've drawn with Arsenal, we've drawn with Chelsea. They're the 2 favorites. Man City aren't looking so great this year. So I think the title is there for the taking, and I think Manchester United, we should be taking the WSL title this season. Lock it in. I also predict a deep run into the UEFA Women's Champions League. Now, my one criticism is that when we go to our bench, as you saw in the match against Vålerenga, we dropped off. We need to strengthen our bench. And again, I'm talking about the women's side right now. We need to strengthen our bench. We need stronger reinforcements. Again, our starting 11 is, but once we go to our bench, no offense to them personally, but as players, there's just too big of a drop off. And you saw it against Vålerenga. And while we were controlling the entire match, right, Vålerenga were lucky to get to our half. You saw it start to change once we started putting in our substitutes. So maybe we'll see some movement in January. I'm not sure. But I would worry about injuries with our women's team, right? So if we face any injuries to a Park or a Mallard or, a Turlin or a Toon or just fatigue in general or Riviere, we're staring, at a pretty tough challenge. So anyway, jumping on, looking ahead. So upcoming game schedule, as I just said, Women's Super League, United versus Everton, October 12th. We'll try to cover that. But if not, I'm definitely covering the Women's Champions League match between United and Atletico Madrid on the 16th. The men take on Liverpool when they are back from the international break on October 19th. Liverpool are currently second in the table. They've been on a poor run lately, Liverpool. So I think that they could be there for the taking. I know I said it about Manchester City and we got embarrassed, but, I'm holding out hope that Liverpool, they go back to whatever, was it called? The Aeon X, whatever it's called, their training ground. And, they return to the same funk that they've left under, and their heads are down. Meanwhile, we're coming off of a win against Sunderland. Our players on international duty are rocking and rolling. They all come back injury-free. And then we go and we steamroll, Liverpool. Now, that's me being hopeful. Realistically, I don't see us winning that match. Either way, I'll do a match preview for that match. I'll do a match watch where we get to watch together. You get to have your say, and we'll do a post-match discussion as well. And hopefully, we'll be talking about the 3 points that we took off of Liverpool. And I think we'll see Mazraoui back for that match. I know he was hurt for a while, so hopefully we'll see him back for that match. Now, very quickly before you go, again, please do like, please subscribe, please turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter over here, wherever it is on the screen. And check out my other channel, Football with Brian Martin. I'll probably cover some of the international matches today. I'm not sure which one yet. I got to see what's streaming. I might do England-Wales. I wasn't going to do England-Wales, but I think that might be the only one I have access to to stream and watch. So I might do a match watch with that on my other channel, Football with Brian Martin, linked in the description below. I kind of want to do the Austria match, to be honest, just to do something different, and I'll see if there's any, other matches in any other regions around the world that might be interesting to cover since it's World Cup qualifiers right now. But right now, I'd bank on seeing me cover the England-Wales match. But again, subscribe to that channel and stay tuned so you will know which one I'm going to cover. So with that said, guys and gals, that's all I've got for you today. I appreciate you joining me. And also, again, just going back to the Women's Champions League match, such a big turnout for that. Like 2,000 of you came through. I mean, mind blown. Thank you so much for coming through and not only supporting me and the channel, but most importantly, supporting our ladies in red. That is a huge turnout in my mind from the online community for women's football as we continue to support our ladies in red and women's football in general. So thank you guys for the turnout, and we'll keep doing it all season long. Anyway, let me get out of here. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.